Hola Unconventionals, I'm Amelia.
And I'm JP.
And we are sharing our unconventional life with you from Ecuador.
You know, hindsight is 2020. And looking back on our move out of the United States, it's easy to spot the mistakes that we made.
Yes, and in this video, we're going to share our 7 biggest mistakes that we made when we moved from the United States to Ecuador. If you're new to our channel or you're thinking about visiting or moving to Ecuador, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell please. You'll get notified on all of our upcoming videos.
Because we show what it's like to live in Ecuador.
This video was inspired by your comments and questions regarding safety, language barrier, cultural differences, internet access, etc., etc.
Hey, you said etc., right?
I did.
That got us thinking about all of the mistakes that we made when we moved here, and a lot of them have to do with the concerns that you've had and voiced in our comments.
Yes, and our first biggest mistake number 1, was that we believed all the negative stereotypes.
A lot of your comments have been about safety and is Ecuador safe, or saying that Ecuador is unsafe. And we believed all those negative stereotypes too, but in reality, Ecuador is a very safe country.
We used to leave the house having our persons completely locked down.
Like Fort Knox.
Yes.
You know, they always said, don't take your phones out. Somebody will run by and steal it. Don't use nice cameras. Don't draw attention to yourself. And then the longer we lived here, the more we saw everybody using nice cameras and everybody walking down the street talking on their phone.
And of course, just like with any other place in the world, you always want to take precautions. I wouldn't walk by myself when we first got here, and I still wouldn't walk alone by myself along the river walk at night because I wouldn't do that anywhere in the world. And unfortunately, we did get our phone stolen a couple months ago, but that was our own fault because we were out in La La Land and not paying any attention. So you still have to be aware.
Yeah, we got pickpocketed on the bus. I'll put a link to the video where we talked about that up there. Everybody said that, oh, it's so dangerous. People get killed there. You're going to die or be turned into a drug mule.
Yes, the drug mule was a big one.
Yeah, that's a funny one. And drugs aren't really that big of a deal here, like in some of the other countries.
Right.
The homicide rate in Cuenca, which is one of the safest cities in Latin America, is 3 per 100,000. To put that in perspective, in 2018, the homicide rate in Denver, where we moved from, was 9.5 per 100,000. That's more than 3 times higher than it is in Cuenca. The homicide rate for Ecuador overall, the whole country, is 5.7, and in the States it's 6. It's more dangerous in the States. You're more likely to die of a homicide in the States than here.
Another negative stereotype we believed was that we would not be able to get reliable internet. And I gotta tell you guys, I was totally stressing out about this because I work online and it is extremely important that I can be available Monday through Friday all the time.
Yeah, the internet here is actually better than it was in Denver.
Yeah.
In Cuenca, we had fiber to the curb. It's just shocking that we came here thinking that this is going to be like a developing country, and here we have fiber to the curb, which we didn't have in our apartment in Denver. And the internet access in Cuenca, it was 50 meg up and down for $56 per month. And here in Alone, we have 75 meg up and down for $47 per month. We were paying $120 per month in Denver for crappy cable internet access that completely died at 7 o'clock at night when everybody in the building was using it.
Yeah, it's been great. We've had very little issues with the internet. So I was obviously very relieved. The other thing I was afraid of is that we weren't going to be able to have good, reliable cell service, and that has not been the case either. We use Claro, and on occasion when the power goes out, because that does happen, like it does in the US, I use our Claro account as a hotspot, and I'm still able to run my meetings.
Yeah, here and do video calls and everything.
Yeah, here in South America, in this little beach town, connecting to people in the United States is so cool and crazy.
We have 4G. 4G is predominant throughout Ecuador unless you're in really remote areas. But along the coast here and in Cuenca and the major cities, it's all 4G. The second big mistake that we made was not having enough patience. And when I say we, I mean Amelia.
You had your moments too, but I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I was stressed out a lot when we first got here. I guess I still had a lot of anxiety about moving to another country and worrying about things working out properly.
There's a concept here called mañana, and literally in Spanish that means tomorrow, but in reality it means not today. So it could be tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, or never. And that's something that you just kind of have to get used to. And,
You do.
as part of being patient here is that, you realize it's not really tomorrow when they say that. You're going to have to follow up with them and make sure things get done. This happened when we rented our house in Cuenca. We looked at a bunch of places and we finally found one we liked. And Amelia's basically we're in the house. She's like, I want it. They said that they would message us about signing the lease and doing the deposit. And then days went by and we hadn't heard anything. And so I finally messaged them and said, we really want this house. Please don't give it away. And they're like, oh, sure, it's yours. Don't worry about it. More days went by. Well, and then I messaged again. We would really like to sign the lease and put our deposit down. They're like, don't worry about it. It's yours.
Oh my gosh, I was like, I'm not sure about the verbal agreement here. We did rent the house and we really liked it.
Yeah, and if you want to see a tour of it, I'll put a link above Amelia's head so you can go look at our old house in Cuenca.
I also learned I needed a lot of patience because for some reason, every time we tried to do something, it took 3 times.
Yeah, getting our cell phone, paying our utility bills, getting our bank opened.
Paying the rent. We just required a lot of patience with that. And I guess maybe part of that was a language barrier. I don't know.
I think a lot of it's just a lack of really clearly defined processes and procedures. We're so used to everything being so regimented in the United States. And here it's just so much more flexible.
Yes. And I also was freaking out and required a lot more patience and really had to trust in the process because my visa took longer than I thought it was going to. And I was solely freaking out that I was going to be here illegally and I was going to get deported.
Yeah, she was an illegal alien for like 2 months.
I was.
Yeah, because that process got messed up with the election of a new government that changed all the rules right in the middle of our visa process. So it delayed our application dates twice and we were here. I was never here illegally, but she was. So I always threatened I could just turn her in if I wanted to get rid of her.
That's not true because they had already processed my application and they had submitted my application, I should say. So everyone's like, just Amelia, you're fine. You're going to get it. Everybody gets their visas. Just relax. It'll happen. It'll happen. You're not illegal because they've submitted your application and you have proof of that, which I did. And it worked out just fine. And now we're permanent residents. So patience. Patience is a virtue.
Are you ready for our next big mistake?
Yes. Mistake number 3 is that we did not ask enough questions. Kind of leads into having the patience and just what you were saying about clearly defined procedures.
Yeah, there is kind of a cultural aspect here of not volunteering information. So you just can't expect for them to share something unless you specifically ask about it. So our advice is to ask a lot of questions, follow up via email, WhatsApp, phone. Don't be afraid to ask for a status update.
Oh, and I do want to say one thing about email. A lot of people are not good about checking their email here. So picking up the phone and calling is in most cases the preferred method.
And if they give you a WhatsApp, you can message them over WhatsApp, but they're going to use WhatsApp over email.
Number 4, our 4th biggest mistake is that we had the scarcity mentality.
I was wound really tight in the States. I really was. I'm going to be the first to admit it. But as soon as we moved here, it's like all of that I left it all behind somehow. Amelia kind of brought some of it with us.
I did. I had a longer adjustment process or period, I should say, than JP did. Although you did have your moments.
Yes, I did. I still do occasionally.
Yes, we're not perfect.
The first real obstacle with the scarcity mentality was our rental house.
Yes.
And we looked at several. We worked with 2 different people who were helping us look for rental houses.
We looked at 10. You guys 10.
The people did not listen to what we wanted. And they kept showing us places that did not meet our requirements, mainly that none of them accepted dogs. So that, that was the first requirement. We have dogs. They have to accept dogs. We go look at all these places and they're like, oh, sorry, they don't take dogs. Well, then why are we here? But so after like 10 of those, we found the house that we ended up renting. And Amelia was like, oh, we got to take it. We barely even walked in the door and she's like, I want it.
Pretty much. We saw it online first and I was like, oh, this is going to be good. Well, and I did jump on it because it was also the perfect location for us. Location, JP.
Yeah, it was. But, we, after having lived there for a few months, we realized that a lot of our friends lived in really nice places that would have worked for us, too. So it wasn't just the one place in Cuenca that we would have been happy in. There's a lot of them. We just weren't shown any of those by the 2 rental agents that we worked with.
Well, and it's a process, and we probably needed to allow extra time. But I was, as I have mentioned multiple times, was freaking out. because I was not letting go of the outcome and trusting in the process.
Yeah, she was also freaking out about the lack of Amazon shopping, or really the
Not
fear,
really freaking out.
the fear of not being able to find the basic things that we needed.
And that's pretty common. We get questions about that a lot. Now that we've lived here for a while, there's very few things that we need from the United States. So people ask us about going back and bringing things, and we do that every once in a while, like JP's allergy medicine. We had some people bring fennel seeds for us.
Yeah, we have a hard time finding fennel seeds here, or chili powder.
Yeah.
So we've had people bring that stuff for us.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, sorry Amazon, but I do not miss online shopping anymore. We can get everything we need here with the small exception.
Did you hear that? Angels singing, "Wah, hallelujah."
If there are things you need from the United States, like JP said, you could ask people to bring things back. People post on Gringo Post all the time or on Facebook asking if anyone's going back to the U.S. or their home country. There's also mule services that get great reviews, so there's no worries.
There are ways to get things here if
Yes,
you need
there
it.
are.
Our fifth biggest mistake is we made a lot of timing mistakes.
We did. It's funny, too, because we had like a year. We had our timeline planned out. We had everything planned out, and we still made mistakes.
Yeah, one of them was selling Amelia's car. We really ran out of time to sell it, so we had to turn it into the dealership, which is not a great way to sell a car because that cost us probably about $8,000 if we would have sold it outright.
We also screwed up the timeline when it came to getting the dogs prepared for their big adventure. I didn't realize that we needed to get Leisha shots within a certain time frame, and that got so out of whack that we ended up having to reschedule our flights. Another timing mistake we made was trying to fly Miss Daisy to her new home. We had to fly her in the cargo hold of the airplane, and there are restrictions on that.
Yeah, you can't fly all year round on that because of the temperature. So when we flew here the first time, it was too hot, so she couldn't go in the plane. And then we went back to get her in November, and it was too cold. So we were trying to fly out of Atlanta, and they had a freak blizzard and 8 inches of snow, and it was really cold. And so they wouldn't allow her on the plane. So we had to rent a car and drive 10 hours, 20 hours, a long ways to Miami in order to get Daisy on the airplane. So if you're going to fly your dog here and they have to go on cargo because they're too big, you need to take that into consideration.
Our sixth mistake is with banking. We made a lot of banking mistakes.
Yeah, we had our primary bank account back in Denver charged a 5% international ATM withdrawal fee. And this is the cash society, even rent. So we even had to pay our rent with cash. And so we were paying like $80 a month in ATM fees just to take out money to live and pay the rent.
Yeah, we didn't do our research before we got here and find other options. And once we arrived, we had several people tell us we should have opened a Charles Schwab account.
Yeah, which I did from here. And then I got flagged because we were outside the country and I had to go into a local branch in the United States to show them my proof of identity. So we couldn't use that account for months.
Yeah, so don't do that.
Yeah, so we recommend opening a Charles Schwab account. They don't charge any ATM fees for international ATMs. And on top of that, they refund all of the ATM fees charged by the withdrawing bank. So you get all that money back. It saved us hundreds, thousands of dollars since we've been living here.
Yeah, and the other mistake we made is that we waited I think a year and a half to open an actual bank account here in Ecuador. That was kind of stupid on our part.
Yes.
I don't know what we were thinking.
We were procrastinating. I think we thought it would be more hassle than it was. It was pretty easy, and it would have saved us a lot of time waiting in line to pay bills in person, because if you have an Ecuadorian bank account, you can do a lot of online payments, which they don't accept international credit cards or bank accounts for those, but you can pay online with an Ecuadorian bank account. Our seventh biggest mistake is we did not study enough Spanish before we came here.
Faceplant. We should have known better, but I guess we were kind of cocky. We thought we knew more than we knew.
Yeah. Yeah, we were overconfident. Yes. And because I had gone through the entire Duolingo app, I'd used a software program called Fluence, and I was really confident that I would be able to come here and just be fluent within a month. And 3 years later, and I'm still not fluent.
I know, it's so funny. When we first got here, Unconventionals, we had to go and communicate together. So I would be the interpreter and JP would be the speaker. Yeah,
because I couldn't understand a word they were saying. And they speak very slowly. It's a very easy to understand dialect in Ecuador, especially in Cuenca. And we highly recommend actually going to some classes and doing some conversational Spanish back home before you come here. There's really no substitute for actually speaking with Spanish speakers. So I know there were several language exchange meetings in Denver that we didn't go to and should have.
One of the best pieces of advice we got from Javier was that language is meant to be spoken.
Spoken, not studied.
Yes.
That's what he told us when we
Yes.
first got here.
But I think you need a combination of both.
Yeah, I think it helped.
Yes.
Although he learned English just by speaking to his hotel guests. He said he never took a class. That's so impressive.
I know.
Very, very impressive.
Unconventionals, we had so much fun making this video. Hopefully that came across. It was really fun for us to reminisce on the mistakes we made and the lessons we've learned. And hopefully this will help you all out in your journey.
If you made any different mistakes than us on your expat journey, or if you have any questions for us, leave those in the comments below.
Yes, and if you like this video, leave us a thumbs up, please.
Yeah, and I wanted to let you know too that we posted our monthly question and answer video for our patrons over on Patreon. We had 10 really good questions this
did.
month from our patrons, so I'll put a link in the description so you can go check out that video if you're interested.
That's all we have for this video. We hope you have an unconventional day, and we will see you all in our next video.
Ciao.
Ciao. Sorry. Can you grab my fan?
Yes.
Unconventionals. The hot flashes suck. Oh, thank you, my love.
What was it? It really brought the room together. It really
Yes.
Man, I really thought I brought the room together. Really tied the room together.